gone are the times when we as journalism students studied headline writing as the traditional skill.
A good content is to stay. At the end of the day, it has to stand the test of one thing which AI will never be able to replace. AI needs to be taught.
Do you think as an educator, these algorithms are shaping the editorial agenda? With AI coming on board, how do you feel investigative journalism will get empowered? Hello and welcome to the Manav Rachna podcast, where intellect meets insight and conversations shape perspectives. Today we'll be diving deep into some of the biggest questions that are shaping journalism right now. Are algorithms the new invisible editors of our time? What does a newsroom of 2025 looks like? And can data truly tell us the story as powerfully as words? To help us decode this, I am being joined by someone who has witnessed media evolve across decades and still continues to guide the next generation of journalists. A thought leader and a change maker, Dr. Shilpi Jha, Dean of the School of Media Studies and Humanities, Manav Rachna International Institute of Research and Studies. Dean, thank you so much for joining us. It's an absolute honor to have you here.
Thank you, Richa. Thank you for having me on your show.
Ma'am, so let's start with the basics first. What does a newsroom of 2025 looks like? People have gone either fully digital. Newsrooms have gone fully digital. Some are working in hybrid mode. So, in your opinion, what does a newsroom of 2025 looks like?
Well, as you said, it's pretty diversified. But a good newsroom is anywhere where you are creating credible content with a good storytelling. A good content or a good piece of news is nothing if you're not able to put it across in a effective way. So whether it is a 3-4 floor newsroom or a small office corner where somebody is creating content, if it's well researched, it's credible, and it is able to put across in any development in a creative way, that is the newsroom. So yes, versatile.
So ma'am, since you said that the newsroom is versatile in nature right now, so does our education also inculcate this versatility into the curriculum? Gone are the times when we as journalism students studied headline writing as the traditional skill. But should our focus shift towards digital skills like SEO, content writing? How important are these skills right now?
See, we've been focusing on 4 things, of course. A good content is to stay. You need to be a good writer and an aware person to be a media professional, especially if you're talking about the news media. So content, of course, is the bread and butter. The second thing we focus on is understanding of technology. Technology at all 3 stages. Technology for news gathering and processing, technology for disseminating it, and technical understanding for the news analytics. So that is something which everybody needs to understand. The third thing which we as a school focus on is understanding of audience, right? So who's your audience is something which, because your content, it's a very fragmented market right now. And every content has a different set of audience, and every set of audience is looking for a different content.
Yeah.
And the platform they are going to be on for consuming that content also varies, right? So even for different types of development or with different types of content, there are different types of platforms where people go, right? So that is the third thing is audience. The fourth aspect which we really are serious about and which every media professional should know is monetization, right? You should understand the cost of acquiring an audience. Unless until you do that, your business model will fail. And if you don't have a sustainable, I know it's a media is a cause, but at the end of the day, it has to stand the test of, the monetary pressure, right? Otherwise, you won't be able to sustain. So yes, of course, content, technology, audience, and monetization are the 4 aspects which we are focusing on. Having said that, it is very important, rather the basic essential of getting into this industry is that you need to be a good writer. You need to be a good storyteller. The rest, everything may evolve and will evolve, 90% of the things which the newsrooms of today require, at least my generation was never taught when we were in media schools, but we learned on the job, right? So, of course, today's students, if they come to us, they get trained and they get placed in a good, credible media organization. Whatever is taught to them will help them only for maximum for the next 5 years. Right? Now, they have to utilize these 5 years also to learn on job for the, next 5 years and then next. And probably these 5 years are also going to shrink. It will become 3 years or 2 years or 1 year. So you'll learn a job. So the basic essential is good storytelling, good writing skills, good presentation skills. And of course, we are diversifying. Just like the newsrooms, we do diversify, and all of this is part of the curriculum.
So, ma'am, you stressed a lot upon the content. But now with the AI incoming, how important is it for the students to keep the originality of the content?
See, that is the problem. That is the problem the industry has been struggling with. One thing which AI will never be able to replace is field reporting. AI cannot go to the field and get first-hand information. They wouldn't even have the emotional intelligence which is needed when you are talking one-on-one, when you are gathering information. You need a lot of, there is a lot of persistence which is needed. There is a lot of emotional intelligence which no textbook or newsroom, teaches you. There's something which you develop on your own. To deal with so many people, you need to maintain interpersonal relationship. You need to be, you need to be on your toes. You need to understand who to rely as a source. All of that. This is something which AI will never ever replace, right? Now the problem is that the authentic source of information, the person who's at the helm of the first carrier or the first mile carrier of for any development, doesn't get the credit which has to be, because there's a lot of regulatory deficits around. We don't have such strong copyright issues. Even if they are, the technology is changing so fast that the laws are it's very difficult for the laws across the globe to keep up with them. So those things having said, that struggle needs to be, this needs to be fought collectively by newsrooms across the world. However, if like recently YouTube came up with a guideline that they'd only be monetizing original content, right? So the regulations will keep coming, and the market needs to be consolidated accordingly. So it's, of course, it is a good news collection, good reporting, coupled with good storytelling is something which will always remain, no matter where the technology takes you.
Okay. Ma'am, you said field reporting, that AI cannot replace field reporting.
Yes.
But we have seen, we have also seen some instances where, AI has modulated the voice.
Yeah.
AI has changed what the person was saying in front of the camera.
That is misinformation, fake news, of course.
Seeks, deepfake. These are these are something our society has been bearing.
That's right.
With the brunt of AI.
Yes.
So how do, as a journalist, how our young students, how do we inculcate this ethical thinking into our students? How are they able to differentiate between what's true and what's not credible?
See, they're two different things. In the last decade, or at least 7-8 years, fact-checking has come up as a very important wing of, very important wing of any media or any newsroom, right? So that is where and fact-check news are sort of, it has become more of a beat or a genre of news production, right? Now, ethics was always part of journalism training. The curriculum has just expanded, right? So, of course, media ethics or media literacy and fact-checking, everything is being taught to the students, and it is part of at least our curriculum. It is very much part of it, and I personally take their class. So, they need to understand, the technological, they need to have that technical know-how. There are a lot of tools to identify if something is deepfake or not, if something is, if something is being manipulated, digitally manipulated, something is completely synthetic media and all of that. But even when we are teaching fact-checking or media literacy, the class starts with critical thinking. Right? Anything which is too good to believe or anything which is too shocking to believe is something which needs to be fact-checked. Now, so none of these technologies are there to replace the journalist inside you. Even when in the analog world, these were the same values which the journalists or the reporters were taught, whether in the classroom or by their newsroom seniors, that you check the credibility of your sources. You never rely on one sources, right? You do your facts right. So all of these are still part of it. Now with the advent of technology and AI and now generative AI, what has changed is that tools get added, right? So just like any other curriculum in any other domain, media is evolving with technology. That's hard.
Man, when you talk about AI, so I recently came across a really interesting analogy given by Yuval Noah Harari, the author of the Homo sapiens series. What he said about AI, really intrigued me. He said that for the first time, humans are having the real competition on the same planet. So how do you see this kind of a statement coming from such a notable author, and how important AI has become when it comes to journalism?
See, as they say, AI is not going to replace jobs, but the person who knows AI will certainly replace the person who doesn't know. So it's up to the industry or any industry, whether you want to get eaten up by technology or you want to use it to your stride. Right? So AI needs to be taught or introduced in newsrooms. The ones who do not cope up or are not able to catch up will definitely feel the brunt. And it's not like this is happening for the first time. Technology was always there. New technology would always come. When newspapers, when television came, people thought nobody would listen to radio because television also has visuals, right? You see, the radio has made its own niche. You're listening to, because it has a certain, there's a certain kind of content which can only be done on radio. There's a certain kind of content which can only be done on television, right? So AI, now what AI is challenging is, of course, its ability to manipulate content at a lightning fast speed. So ethical norms need to be put across. Then there has to be an ethical fencing across. Now, if newsrooms are taking a lot of time to catch up with that, and that is a place where they're definitely going to lose out on, right? So it's not like newsrooms have not started using artificial intelligence. They are, but you need to be aware of the other pitfalls which accompany AI, like the AI hallucinations or generative AI biases. So those terms are something which newsrooms need to be working on. And there is a bigger challenge for the economies, who we call the global south, because you do not have a fair representation on internet, right? On AI. So data which generative AI, the large language models which they've been trained on, it doesn't represent the global south adequately. So that is where it's not just a media problem, it is a problem where the governments need to step up and then take a call. So yeah, that's a bigger challenge and a bigger ecosystem altogether.
Understood. Ma'am, you also said earlier that for every platform you need to have a different set of content.
There is, yes.
So, ma'am, it's a no-brainer that platforms like X, YouTube and Instagram, they modify content accordingly. They control our feeds, what we want to watch on our feeds. So do you think as an educator, these algorithms are shaping the editorial agenda? How do you feel about that?
See, how much of news are you consuming from social media? Right? For a majority of population, social media is acting as a platform which is breaking news for them. If you ask youngsters, where did you know about it for the first time, they'll definitely quote social media. But if you go to, say, if you ask a mainstream news media platform, there was a time when these organizations, they were depending a lot on social media to get traffic on their websites, on their platform. Now that is not the case. Social media has just become a place where they just need to be present. Are they getting enough traffic from people clicking on their link and all of that? No. Social media platforms, if you look at them, they are promoting individual content creators more than the institutional ones, right? So that is one part. Second part is, it's not just a news media problem, but any aware citizen needs to be aware, needs to have an understanding of how these algorithms or these echo chambers or filter bubbles are working and controlling their minds, right? So this is something which need to be taught to everybody. This is not a news producer problem. This is a news consumer problem as well, right? That is why media literacy is something which needs to be taught. Just like you are teaching basic hygiene, just like you're teaching compassion in classrooms today and schools today, media literacy needs to be a part of your curriculum, irrespective of where and what you're going to be working on.
Ma'am, talking about media literacy,
Yes.
how do we differentiate between a media student and a student who does not study media? How can we make sure that both these students are media literate?
See, media, now first of all, to begin with, both a media student or a non-media student, they are content consumers, right? They are consuming content in one form or the other. To that basic level, media literacy is important for both of them. What a media student also need to probably understand is, one, how to counter a piece of misinformation using tools and techniques, and two, the ethical part of usage and the ethical part of sharing a piece of misinformation or a fabricated information or disinformation.
So now let's dive into our next segment.
Sure.
The fireside round session. So I'll share a statement with you and you'll have to complete the sentence in a single word or whatever
Sure.
you like. The newsroom of tomorrow in one word.
Credible and sustainable. I'll take the liberty of using two.
Oh, a journalism cliche you wish would disappear.
That if a man bites a dog, it becomes news. I think somewhere it is, it overlooks the trends and in the society or the larger picture.
The last headline that made you laugh unintentionally.
I'd say many, and especially the ones pertaining to mainstream news media promoting jingoism in the name of war reporting. So yes, of course, a lot of them made me laugh aloud these days, especially the television news channels. Every time there's a news development related to Pakistan, the kind of headlines they use is...
And mostly we see these in Hindi media channel.
Oh yes, of course. Not even English is catching up fast.
Okay. One book, film or series about journalism that you will always recommend?
See, I always ask my students, because this generation doesn't want to read much, to watch. There's a list of 10 movies and I keep rephrasing it every year to watch. From the classics like Jaane Bhi Do Yaro to Peoply Live to The Post to The Social Network, which is a documentary film. There's a list. So even in the orientation week, we'd start, making them watch one movie or the other. Book, I think one of the books, if they want to be a reporter, is Everybody Loves a Good Broad. So that is something
By
that...
P.
by P. Sainath, of course. There's another book by Kuldeep Nair called The Scoop. It's basically a collection of his reporting the experiences. So in a very easy way, it's a very thin book and a very easygoing way. He's just documented his reporting days and the various scoops he got during his reporting career.
Okay. A myth about journalism students that you'd love to bust?
That anchoring is not a career. And if you're studying journalism, that doesn't mean you have to be a news anchor. There are 10 different career paths which you can choose from.
Okay. Ma'am, moving on to our next segment, we've seen that how COVID dashboards and election heat maps have they have shown like how data in itself is a story, and how you don't always need words to draft a story. So, in your opinion, how do you see data journalism doing in the next decade? What do you feel about it?
Yeah, see, data in itself is not a story. You have to carve a story out of data. And that is the art which data journalism teaches you. Data journalism for over a decade, I would say, has been an integral part of curriculums. And it's a great way. That's when I said that, the journalism cliche that when a dog bites, when a man bites a dog, it is news. Because when you're going that line, then you are overlooking the stories which data sets tell you, because there's a trend which is getting formed, right? But data in itself is no story. And the essence of good reporting, the essence of good storytelling is how do you carve a good story, and using various representation tools, how do you make it readable and consumable for your audience? That is the essence of data storytelling, and it is going to stay. Of course, the representation technology will improve from those two-dimensional, graphs and charts. Of course, we will have more interactive representation. We will have a more vibrant representations and all of that. So that interactivity and the representation technique will change, but data will always be a very good, form of storytelling, especially in news.
Okay. So now when we talk about data journalism, we cannot forget to mention investigative journalism.
Yes.
And with AI coming on board, how do you feel investigative journalism will get empowered?
AI is actually a very good tool for research. Right? It can read, like it took a year for the reporters involved, over 100 reporters involved in investigating Panama Papers, to come out with their reports, right? It was like trillions of pages of data, and reporters in dozens of countries were working simultaneously so that come up with the data. Now that time can be shortened, right? So AI does a very good job of researching, and if you're able to extract that from AI, if you're able to learn and extract that, then of course the wait time is over. You can get new angles. Of course, the essence of reporting is that the writing needs to be done by the journalist. You must not use AI for writing your reports. But for other things, yeah, it is a good tool.
Let's move on to our next segment, which we call the future forecast. So I'll share some incomplete sentences with you, and you'll have to answer it in one word.
Sure.
So the journalist of 2030 will definitely need
to be pro-technology, needs to be hands-on with changing technology.
Okay. One thing that will never change about journalism is
good, innovative writing and storytelling.
Okay. By 2035, news will mostly be consumed on
multi-platform. We're still reading newspapers. There will be probably holograms or 3D representation of stories, but we will always be using different platforms for consuming different type of content.
Okay. The biggest threat to journalism in the next decade will be
to be able to maintain their credibility and to be able to financially sustainable.
Okay. Biggest opportunity for young journalists is
learning technology faster than others.
Okay. And if you could give one golden rule for future journalists, what would it be?
Read as much as you can.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, ma'am. It was so wonderful having you on the show, and how you actually, educated all of us into the future of journalism and what it holds for all the young journalists who are studying journalism currently. And to all our viewers, especially the students who want to make stories that actually matter, remember that tools will keep on changing, but it's your vision, your integrity, and your voice that will always be your strongest assets. So stay bold, keep questioning and keep creating. Do let us know how you found the podcast in the comment section. Stay tuned for many more podcasts coming your way. And until next time, have a good time. Thank you.